This is chapter number 7, Federalism. Federalism is Sanghwad. There is a vast change in Indian map since 1947 till this 2020. When India became independent, there were certain British ruled area, and then we have certain princely states, that is different state, around 500 plus states were there, and they needs to be combined, and they get combined. So there were provinces, actually they were made provinces. Either they were added to the original province or they are regarded as a new province. Since 1947, we have seen that many places, many provinces, they have changed their name. The name are also changed and the boundaries are also changed. And this depends on, and this has depended on actually, the wish of the people, the Rajneetik Dal, the political parties there, and the wishes and the aspirations of the people because of that. And just one more thing is administrative convenience. For example, Mysore, it was changed to Karnataka. Mysore is now just a city in Karnataka, but Karnataka was previously called as Mysore only. That big region was Mysore. Similarly, if you see this Madras, now it is called Tamil Nadu, but the whole Tamil Nadu previously it was called as Madras. Now it has changed. Now the Madras is just a capital, and this Madras has also changed to Chennai. So what we are going to understand here is, first is, what is federalism? What do we mean when we say we are talking about federalism? Then what are the federal provisions in Indian Constitution? What are the provisions for it? And there are two relationships. One is the center government, and then for the whole country, and then we have the state government for different provinces, different states. So what is the relationship between these two government, and what is the relationship between a state government and a state government? This is also an important matter to discuss. And there are certain special provision. There are certain states which are given special provision. What are these special provision, and why these special provisions are given to the special states? Because this depends a lot on the historical factors, historical features. Let me tell you that this area I was talking about, this whole area was Mysore. Now it is Karnataka, right? And this whole area, see, this whole area was Hyderabad. Total area is Hyderabad. Now Hyderabad is just the, a place in Telangana, and you don't see Telangana here. Telangana was only formed in 2014, and in 2010 the state was born. Various states are born. 2014, then 1960s, 70s, all these states are born, and we are going to just see the states here. So this is now the actual one. This was called, Uttar Pradesh was called as Sanyukta Pradesh. See, Sanyukta Pradesh it was called. And if you see this Uttar Pradesh, it is this place I am talking about. This was United Provinces. United Provinces it was called. And the Madhya Pradesh was called as Central India. Now it is called as Madhya Pradesh. And now we have Madhya Pradesh as well as Chhattisgarh. Madhya Pradesh was with Chhattisgarh. Now Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh are two different states. And Uttar Pradesh. Now Uttar Pradesh and Uttaranchal, which is called as Uttarakhand now. Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh were a single state previously, but now we have two states, Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh. Similarly, this Andhra Pradesh. Now we have Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Two different. Telangana comes here because Hyderabad is in Telangana. So this is Telangana. So this is how it is changed. Kerala was called as Travancore previously. So due course of time, things have changed, and this would change because of certain demands of the people and certain demands of the administration. Let us start with the history. First of all, USSR, the Soviet Union was there, and we call it as, this USSR was called as Soviet Union. Now this Soviet Union was a superpower, but after 1989, It disintegrated. Actually, it broke out into different countries. And what was the reason? What was the reason this Soviet Union broke up? And this was because the whole USSR, the power was centralized. That is, whole power was with a central government, you can say. Central power was there. The concentration of power at one party, you can say, one Samu group, it was there. And there were various regions. In this region, there are various regions which does not or which are not in the bhashai manner, that is language manner or culture manner. They were quite independent. Certain region in this area, if you see here, certain region in this area, Albania has nothing to do with the Russian culture. These places have their different people, different area, different language, different culture, everything was different. So that is how finally we have this Russia, or right now we have Russia, but previously it was called as USSR, and USSR, that is Soviet Union, and finally it broke. Similarly, if you talk about Czechoslovakia also broke. And why to go far? Talk about Pakistan. When India got independence, means there was a partition. Then partition, West Pakistan and East Pakistan was there. Now here the West Pakistan and East Pakistan broke. Why? Because these region people were Muslims. Majority were Muslims. But the thing was that they have Bengali culture. They speak Bengali. They have nothing common with these people. Here, maximum people were speaking Punjabi or language related to Punjabi. So there was no similarity between them. So that is how they broke up. And if you talk about a very, you can say a developed country now, Canada. Canada also has this thing, that a region called Quebec. I'll show you the region. This is Quebec. And this region is totally French dominated. People speak here only French. So now if you call, make a call here, anywhere, you will listen in two languages, English and then the French. So both languages are given proper weightage and they are divided according to it. But what happened to India? India, after 1947, we have seen that we had so many states. We have now so many states, and they remain united. How did we achieve it? All these countries which I am talking about, this country, this Canada or Czechoslovakia or this USSR, they were federal countries. But the flavor of federalism there was different. Therefore, apart from adopting this, just having a name of federal structure or having a federal constitution, it's not enough. The federal system, the nature also, what is the nature, what is the constitution says, this also, and how do we practice this federalism? These are very important factors. We cannot just say that we are federal. That is how these countries broke up. But how we face, how we practice in actual ground, that is very important. If you see West Indies, West Indies player come to our country to play. We see all 11 players from West Indies and we say that, or we think that West Indies is a country. It's not like that. West Indies is not a country. West Indies is the union. It's a treaty which was held, and there are different island countries, or you can say island provinces. And these island provinces, these are called Caribbean countries or Caribbean regions, and they are combined together. So India, if you see, India is so vast. It's like India is like a Mahadweep. It's like a continent. India is very big country. And if I talk about languages, there are so many languages. 20 major languages, and I cannot number these languages. There are so many languages. There are so many religions. There are so many castes. There are so many creed. So many different diversity is there. That is why it is sometimes our national leaders, they always visualize this country as unity in diversity. That is, we are united because we are diverse. We find Hindu, we find Muslims, name any religion, and we are living quite happily here. Every country of our sort, because you will not get a country like us. It's so diverse. So federalism does not consist of certain fixed principle. If you say I have a federal structure and this will be applied in Canada, this can be applied in US, this can be applied in say Romania, it's not like that, because all these countries, they have different historical situations. Similarly, India has a different historical situation. India has a different historical background. So American federalism, this was one of the first major attempt to build a federal polity, and it was quite different from German and Indian federalism. So let me tell you what are the key concepts. There are key concepts which are associated with the term called federalism. The first is, federalism is an institutional mechanism, and there are two set of polities, two set of governments, that is, one at the national level. We call, I'll talk about India also, this national level government is called as union government or central government. That is for whole country at national level. Then we have for each provinces, each states, say Tamil Nadu, say Chhattisgarh, we have the regional level government, we call it as state government, we call it as provincial government. So these are two levels, and in certain countries you will find that people have dual citizenship, that is, they are the citizen of their province and then they are citizen of that country also. But India में एक खरी नागरिकता है. India has only single citizenship. We all are Indian. You may be Gujarati, I may be Uttarakhandi, but we both are Indians. The second very important thing is, as I said, two set of identities we have. As I just said, that we may be Gujarati and you may be Gujarati, I may be Jharkhandi, I may be Uttarakhandi, but we are Indians. So each level of the polity, each level of government has distinct powers and responsibilities. So if you have central government and you have this state government, so they have very clearly defined kshetra, adhikar kshetra, that is powers and responsibilities, these two levels of government. Then the third thing comes here is the written constitution. The constitution, because we have a constitution, written constitution. In this constitution, and this constitution is the supreme power, the supreme law, and this is the source of power for both the governments, whether it be state government or the central government. So the constitution says, it is clearly defined what is state government, what is the central government, what are their power responsibilities, and certain important factors which are for the whole country. That is, if this is for whole country, what can be these different subjects? For example, defense. See, nobody will say that Chhattisgarh, people are going to attack Chhattisgarh. Our you can say our neighbor or any other country with whom we have not a such good relationship, they are not going to attack this Chhattisgarh or any other place. They are going to attack whole India, right? And if you have an international relationship, some cordial relationship with some countries, some treaty, so all these are the national matter. These are not a single state matter. Let us say India have rupees, and these rupees, if you go to Jammu Kashmir, you will have same rupees. If you go to Kanyakumari or Tamil Nadu, same rupees. So currency also is a matter of whole country. It's a responsibility of union central government. So as I said, defense, currency and international relationship, these are for central government. But regional and local government, when we talk about regional matters, for example, we are talking about some area, right? And this area someone is trying to build a land like Tihri Dam. So there are so many people who are going to be relocated, and this is a matter of central government also, but it is more matter of a state government. The education of the people in this region, this province, this state is a matter related to the state government, right? And if we have central government and we have state government, and See, we have 28 states right now and 9 union territories. And the central government is for the whole country. So these are conflict. There may be conflict. These are different states. So some may ask for something, some may ask for something. And there will be some problem with the state government and state government also. Let us assume there is a boundary problem. There is a Seema Vivad. So they are going to go to an independent judiciary. This is the fourth point. To prevent conflict, there is an independent judiciary who are going to settle all these kind of disputes between central government, state government, etc. Real politics, actually what comes? Every federation, every federal structure is coming from the real politics in the country, the culture of the country, the ideology of the country, the history of the country. That is, these all things, they combine together to form a federation. That is why I am saying the federation or the federal system of Canada cannot be equated to the federal system of India. If any single unit or a state or a linguistic group or ideology come to dominate the entire federation, it could generate a deep resentment among people or its unit not sharing the dominant voice. This situation could lead to demands for succession by the aggrieved units or could even result in civil wars. I'll just tell you what does that mean. See, if a central government is there for a whole country. Now this central government is a majority. For example, there are different type of people. It's a majoritarian government. What will happen to the minority? A state or a place where minority lives. They may become nirankush. They may do something that that may not be good for these the minority people or region which is not. They are not interested in this region because this region is not producing anything or it is not giving so much money. It's not a resource. So this region, how they are going to cope up? So for a central government to have all these together, there needs to be a state government here. There needs to be a state government here. So if a single ideology, single majoritarian, we have seen in this happening in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, what happened? There is a country and there was a majoritarian government, Asihala and the Buddhist government. Now they did what? They started discriminating the Christians, the Muslims, etc. because Buddhist state it was about to be. Now these Christians and Muslims, they were nowhere to go. So ultimately the civil war happened and it went for 20 plus years and many people died. So this civil war condition should not be there. That is why we don't want this kind of conflict situation. We have seen this in various countries as I just gave you example. That is why we need some state government or state control also. I'll talk to you about the federalism in Nigeria. In Nigeria, there are 3 regions. And mainly these regions, we have Yoruba, Igbo and Hausa Fulani. These are Prajatiya, tribes, ethnic groups. Now, the problem is that though they tried everything for making a federal government, but the problem is that these are 3 different tribes. These are 3 different tribes. And the thing is that they have petrol, they have fuel. Now, what the money coming from the fuel is to be distributed where? And there are certain regions which have more fuel. There are certain regions which are having less fuel. So basically the oil resources is the problem. And then these ethnic groups, they are quite different from one another. So Nigeria is an example of overlap religion. We have different religion. We have Muslims here, we have Christians here. And they are different ethnics as I just gave you the name. And there are economic differences also. So there is always, we see some of the other problem happening there. Right? Federalism. So before or even before the independence, our national leaders, most of the leaders, our national movement, they were aware or they have already decided that India is such a large country, such a vast country, and this will become very important to divide the power between the center, that is the central government, and the provinces, that is the, back then we call them as provinces, now we call them states, so state government. Because as we said earlier, that people of different regions, languages, and they need to have power, they need to have power shared, because each region, each people, each ambience, panorama is different. So they must be given chance to govern themselves, because the people here know very well about their place rather than a central government sitting at the center. So what happened at that time, I'm talking about that era of independence and after independence. So Muslim League, now they come up with a formula that the representation of people according to their religion or their majority or minority should be given. So they said that for the Muslims, there need to be some equal power. Like if say in 100%, 10% are Muslims, so 10% power should be given. Not that every power should be with everyone. So a compromise formula to give very large powers to the regions were discussed. That is, the state government should be given enough power, because this government, if you have some majority here, then they need to have certain powers. Otherwise, what will happen? If your central government will come, and that is some majority, and there is a state which is minority. So central government will not deal the minority in that way, because we know by our social past that these things doesn't happen in India in social infrastructure. So this Muslim League wanted, but this did not happen, but the idea was there. So the most important feature of federal system that we adopted in Indian constitution when all this discussion was going on was actually based on the relationship between state and center. So state and center, the basic idea in Indian constitution was sahyog, cooperation. This is the cooperation. So the basic idea was to have cooperation between these two entities, that is the central and then the state. So this is how the Indian constitution describes our country. It is said that India, that is Bharat, shall be union of states, and we know that in some countries they use federation, some countries use union, and we have stick with this word union, right? We don't use federation. If you talk about America, we call it as a federal government. If some crime happens, we say federal crime. Here we don't say federal. We just say in India, we say union. That is why in Article 1 it is being clearly written, India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. And the state and territories thereof shall be as specified in the first schedule. This is the schedule, right? So this is how Indian constitution describes India as the union of states. Now coming to the division of power. As we saw in Belgium, there was a very good way, or you can say a very neat idea to divide the power. But in Sri Lanka, there was no division of power according to the different ethnic groups living there. So there was civil war. Here, no war. People are living happily. So when we talk about division of power, the two sets of government in Indian constitution is saying, because Indian constitution says two government, that is a union government or a state the central government for the whole country, and then we have the state government for the states, each unit. Now both have certain powers, and this power is clearly defined. That is the Adhikar Kshetra, or the area where they are going to work, their responsibility, their power is clearly defined. If they have any problem, they go to the judiciary. States or central has any power, or state has any power, they can go to judiciary. And this is on the basis of the constitution, what is written in the constitutional provision. Now the constitution clearly defines, as I said, the powers which are distributed between the center and the state. That is, we have a state list, we have a concurrent list, and then we have a union list. And it is clearly defined what power, the Qanun they can make. That is the law they can make on which subject. And one of this distribution of power, along with that, one of the important aspect of this division of power is the economic and financial powers. Now economy, if you don't have money in your pocket, you cannot do anything. Everyone in this whole world should have something in their pocket so that they can live their life. So economy is so important that this was given to the central government. The finance, or you can say financial powers and economic powers, were given to the central government. And now, because central government has all the resources, various resources to get money, but the state government, they just have very meager means very small revenue sources. Revenue sources means from where they get money. The resources from which the state government and central government gets money is widely different. Widely, you can say major and minor, because central government gets a lot of money. State governments, because they can only get money from the state through some alcohol taxes like abkari or excise taxes, etc. There's no way they can get a whole lot of money. So let me tell you about the actual list. Constitution of India clearly defines 3 lists: union list, state list, and concurrent list. Now in this union list, if you see, these are all the matters of the national interest, like the defense, atomic energy, foreign affairs, war and peace, banking, railways, post and telegraphs, airways, ports, foreign trade, currency and coinage. All these are for national interest, and that comes under union list. What comes or what is there in the state list? Agriculture, police, prison, local government, public health, land, liquor, trade and commerce, livestock and animal husbandry, state public services. So in order to deal with all these, only this somewhat agriculture, somewhat trade and commerce, and mostly on liquor, their revenue resources are based. So that is what union legislature alone can make laws on this matter, and normally only the state legislator can make laws on this matter. But when it comes to emergency situation, union list can make laws on this list. Then we have concurrent list. Concurrent list means these are common to the state and union, so they can make law on this. Education, transfer of property other than agricultural land, forest, trade unions, adulteration, adoption and succession. So this list means both union and state legislature, they can make these laws on these matters. And if there is any concurrency or any trouble between union and state government, they are making, say for forest, state is also making a law, union government is also making a law on this, say some matter, forest. So if there is a conflict, union list or union government law will supersede the state government law. Okay, and there are some residuary powers, avashisht powers, and this includes all the matters not mentioned in this letter, that is cyber laws, for example. Union legislature alone has the power to legislate on such matters. Now, federalism with a strong central government. As we discussed earlier also, central government is stronger than the state government. Why? We have to go to the history, and we have to see the diversities and social problems. Now, India has lot of different region, different places, different caste, creed, religion, So, everyone wanted the constitution, the Samvidhan Sabha also wanted to have a strong center. Now, the strong center, that means the social and political change they can bring. If you don't have a central government which is strong, they will not be able to bring this social and political change. So we need to have this central government to have enough power at the time of independence, not only divided into provinces at that time, which was created by British, but as I said, the central government at the time of independence, they were dealing not with the British provinces, but also with the provinces, that is the princely states. And when we want them to be integrated at the time of independence, if we don't have a central government, how we are going to get them all into a boundary called India, right? So important provisions are given to that makes the center too strong. Why the central government is strong? Let me tell you. First thing is, the existence of state, including the territorial integrity, is in the hand of what? Parliament. That means a state. Now it can be divided. Two states can be formed. So a state can be disintegrated or divided into two parts, or two parts can be combined into one part. That is the separation of territory from any state or by uniting two or more states. The boundary can be altered. Even the name of the state can be altered. And this all come in the power of central government. Now second is, now there is one more thing. Now the central government may always try to change it as per their convenience with their vichardhara. Say some political party want to change it, want to add it. So they have to take the permission of the state legislature. A central government has to take the permission of the state legislature should be in accordance with the central government. Then only these places can be divided, or they can be combined, or the name can be changed. The second thing is, in the case of emergency, apatkal situation, the whole power goes to federal. Means the central government holds all the power. Now the power gets centralized in the case of emergency. That is, now Parliament has all the power to make the laws even in the subjects which are in the state list. So the state law can also be, all these subjects can be used, or any law can be made on this subject in case of emergency. Third thing, if normal situations are there, we have seen that central government has enough power. They have financial power. They have more resources to get revenue. Okay, they have various sources, and they are responsible for giving grants. Say some problem has come in a state, say Kerala. Now the Kerala flood has come, or some place there is earthquake. Now the central government is going to give them the money. The state has not enough way to get the money, right? And this is how the things work. And union government uses its discretion to grant loans and states to the state. So central government can give loan to Kerala or any other state. So what we have seen here is, the central government say is of BJP. I am just giving an example. Now there is state 1 and there is state 2. Now state 1 is governed by BJP state, means BJP is governing this, and here Congress is governing. So it is always, there is some discrimination against the states. That means the BJP may give the loan or money or to this BJP ruled state, but they will not give it to the Congress ruled state. And there is always, whenever there is an opposition party, we have seen happening. The fourth thing is governor. Now, governor of the state is what? He is the representative of president. President is the representative of the prime minister and the council of ministers. So actually, the central government, that is, governor is the representative of the central government. So now in a state, this governor has come. Now he is representing the state, or he is probably from the party of the central government, which has made majority and made the sarkar. Now there is a majority of opposition party. So there is always a conflict. Now this governor has a power to dissolve this assembly. If he has superpower, actually, he can dissolve the party, or you can say the government, if with his you can say vivek. In various circumstances, we have seen this happens. And one more thing is there. Now governor, say the state assembly or the legislative assembly has passed a bill. Now this goes to governor to be signed. But if governor doesn't want, or you can say the central government doesn't want, the governor send it to the president. Now president has a veto power, that is called as the pocket veto. So he can always keep this bill without signing, and this bill will never become a law. So this is also the power of governor. Then one more thing, as we just saw these four, there is one more thing. See, there are situation when the central government makes the law on the stateless subject, right? So now the constitution clearly states that the executive power of the center are superior to the executive power of states. So as I said, the state list is there and the union list is there. Now the central government is making a law which is on the state list. Now the state can always go to the court, but there is a concurrent list. On this, the central government is making law. The state government is also making law on this same subject. But when the state government the central government is making a law on the concurrent list subject, the central government law will supersede the state government. This is the power of central government. Okay, and they have always the power, central government, to instruct, to give instruction to the state government. So there are certain extraction of constitution that makes it very clear that the executive power of every state shall be so exercised as not to impede or prejudice the exercise of the executive power of the union. An executive power of the union shall extend to the giving of such direction to the state as many appear to the government of India to be necessary for that purpose. Now the state government, the central government is always instructing, and state government has to do everything what state government is instructing. This is written in the constitution. Now we are talking about one more thing, Indian Administrative Service. You know, this Indian Administrative Service, or IPS. So they are sent to a state. Now IAS, he may become a DM. Now IPS may become a commissioner of police here. And they are under some government, say state government. But state government, they are working under the state government, the DM, the commissioner of police, etc. And they are representative of the central government. Because why? Central government by UPSC, they are appointed. So the state government, if they have any problem with DM or the commissioner of police or all those bureaucrats, state government cannot do anything. They cannot do anything. No disciplinary action can be taken against these officers. Only central government can take any disciplinary action, state government cannot take. So this is again the power of central government. Then there is Article 33 and Article 34. Now this clearly defines the Parliament to protect persons in the service of the union or a state in respect of any action taken by them during the martial law to maintain these or maintain the order. So the martial law, what is the martial law? When the Sainik rule is there. Martial law means when the army takes over, right? So this strengthens the power of union government. There is one more thing. If you see UPSC, this is a law, this is Act, UPSC. Now what does this say? Now UPSC is a law which can be directed by the central government. Now take an example of Jammu and Kashmir. Now there are people who are criticize, and the Northeast also they criticize. Now what are the special powers given? Any army man, if he has some evidence or he has some idea, he can go to any house, search without warrant, take people in their custody. Even if he shoots the person, he is immune. He cannot be trial. He cannot go to trial. He cannot be taken to law. And these are the things. These are special laws. These are the special things which has actually sparked very controversies. Now, what is the conflict in Indian federal system? The conflict is, see, these states have always demanded for more powers and autonomy. Certain states, they have very different culture, they have different language, altogether they are different. If you go to Tamil Nadu, you will see that you have come to Sri Lanka almost. If you go to Jammu and Kashmir, you will see that you have come to a different part, say Iran you have come. The ambience is such like that. So they are different places. Now they are always, and they don't have any resources, they are very less resources. So they want from the government, so they want some power and more autonomy. And when there is a legal dispute, as I said, between the center and the state, they go to judiciary. And if I say the demands for this autonomy should always be, they are mostly in political nature, because in a state they will have some political party. Now say Shiv Sena in Maharashtra, now they say Marathi Manush, they don't want any UP person or the Bihar person to come in their state. So this is their political ideology, right? So this problems can be discussed between the Shiv Sena and the UP government and Bihar government. They can always do the negotiations. Then there are center and state relation. Center and state relation. See, constitution is just a framework. It is not saying everything. It is a framework. You have to feed thing inside. So it's like a framework or a skeleton. You have to have flesh and blood inside this. And this is only through a good negotiation, good politics, which is shown here. In 1950s and 1960s, Jawaharlal Nehru actually, it started with all this. The advent of federalism in India, it was led by then Jawaharlal Nehru. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, he was the first Prime Minister of India. Now at this point, the central government and the state governments, all these are, this is also Congress government, this is also Congress government. Now what happened after some certain time, this Congress started losing. So central government was with Congress, but the other states, one with say Congress, one was with say CPIM. I am just taking an example. So now there is a conflict. Previously, every government, because this is also Congress, this is also Congress, so they are getting money, they are getting, this is the supreme power, here also the CM is taking care, all, are going like a family. But when the other party has come, now it is asking for more autonomy, it is asking for more money, then the problem started. So in the middle of 1960s, the Congress dominance now declined, and there are certain various states which has now opposition party in the power. Now these different states which are now not in the control of central government, that is the Congress at that time, they wanted enough autonomy, they want power, they want money. So now the state government started protesting, because central government previously they were used to hastakshep or infiltrate in the states, but now there is different, say CPI, say BJP here. Now BJP and CPI will never accept that the Congress government or Congress government is infiltrating in their state matters. So that was the problem created, and the peculiar political context here, this gave a birth to the concept of autonomy of these states under a federal system. Why the autonomy is demanded? Why the state wants autonomy? What is the reason? See, it can be reason for everyone. So asking for an autonomy, that can be different for you, that can be different for me, that can be different for a political party, that can be different for any civil society. So autonomy means different for different people. For example, first is the division of state. That is, more power should be given to the states. Like the Tamil Nadu, Punjab, West Bengal, and these are the states. But the ruling of this party was with DMK, Akali Dal and CPIM. So now they asked for autonomy. They wanted, because now these states are different. Their states have different political ideologies, and they don't match with the political ideology of the central government. So they wanted more autonomy. Second thing is, that is the revenue. Everything is money, revenue and resources. Now most of the revenue and resources are with central government. So the state governments, they wanted, because they are not getting share. How are they going to take care of the people of their state? So that is why they wanted more financial powers, more resources, more revenue. Third thing is, the autonomy demands two administrative powers of the state. That is, the administrative machinery is mostly in the control of the central government. Only the PSC selected, the Public Service Commission selected, or the state government people, they become Tehsildar, SDM, etc. But the main power lies with the central government. So they wanted more power. And then, fourth and very important thing is the cultural and linguistic issues. As I said, if you try to impose Hindi on Tamil Nadu. Hindi is just spoken for 30 to 40% in India. People speak. How about the Tamil Nadu people? They only speak their native language is Tamil. If you want to emphasize or force Hindi on them, there will be a struggle. And we have seen in 1960, there were people who died for it. They died for it. And this DMK, Annadamuk, all these have come from that background only. So there is a cultural difference. So when there is cultural difference, there is linguistic difference, they will always ask for the autonomy. Now coming to the role of governor, every state, when then it comes to a union territory, it is lieutenant governor. So here we have governor of a state. Every state has a governor and Rajyapal, and he is appointed by the President of India. Now this President of India, you know that actually he is appointing or he is doing everything on the suggestions of Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. So this many governors are appointed. They are from the military background, they are retired military officers, or they are mainly the politicians of the ruling party and civil servants also. So the governor is actually appointed by the central government. Now there was a conflict that why should this governor should be a representative of the central government, it is coming to the state, right? So there was a commission being set up. It was called as Sarkaria Commission. And this was appointed in 1983, but the report was submitted after 5 years in 1988. And this Sarkaria Commission said it is to examine the issues which are related with the center and state relationship, and also to give recommendation on the governors, appointment of the governors. So Sarkaria Commission, this gives a report that the governors should be appointed non-partisan. That means it should not be from the central government. The state also should be asked, and also the opposition party should be asked. So this is what the Sarkaria Commission have suggestions for. But it is quite controversial as far as the powers of governor. The Article 356. Now this Article 356 is what? In which the President rule may be applied on any state. And the situation is what? What can be the situation of the state? If this state, a situation has arisen in which the government of the state cannot be carried on in accordance with the provision of the constitution. So now when the state government is not able to handle it, the central government is going to take care of this, or it can actually take over the state government. So central government, union government can take over this state. And this is how it can be done. This president rule, this can be extended to 3 years. It is quite a long time. And the state governments, it is being seen in the past, the state governments has been dismissed. Even they have the majority in the legislature, but still they were dismissed without any reason, just pointing that the governor has sent a report to the president and the president does not find this government to be fit to run this state, and now a president rule has to be imposed. This happened in Kerala in 1959, and also without testing even the majority, and also various other states it happened. So I'll show you a glimpse that how this governor rule is. These are all the imposition of governor rule, and this is quite latest in Maharashtra, Jammu Kashmir, Uttarakhand, because of various reasons, because of the government, because the government is not able to be formed, because of the Jammu Kashmir, because of some special problem there. All these things, even the death of the chief minister is a situation where the president rule can be imposed. So these are certain situations if you go through this. Now Article 356 is used quite widely in the earlier governments. The central government has removed elected government in Andhra Pradesh and Jammu Kashmir in the year 1980, right? So in course of this national movement itself, it was decided that as far as possible The state would be created on the basis of common culture and linguistic identity. That is, if this is a area where common language is spoken and they have common culture, linguistic, then they will be made as one state. In 1954 I'm talking about, the States Reorganization Commission, there was a proper commission, State Reorganization Commission was set up, and it recommended that these linguistic states are to be created, and if not, at least for the major linguistic group. If you see, in 1960, Gujarat, Andhra 1953, Maharashtra 1950, Kerala 1956, Nagaland 1963, like this. And the latest being Telangana in 2014, and Jharkhand in 2000, Chhattisgarh also in 2000, Uttarakhand also. So these are few states which are latest. So these are the examples, and whatever dates are there, it is given here, and the status also. That's what is the prior status of these places. In 1990, some of the larger states were further divided, as I said, that they are, because of the administrative efficiency or to rule them properly, there were separate states being formed. For example, this Telangana has been formed from Andhra Pradesh, Jharkhand from Bihar, Chhattisgarh from Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand from the Uttar Pradesh. But there are also some interstate conflicts. And one of these interstate conflicts, first, if you just want to remember, this is Aam Gunah hai, Main Tusi Gao or Mojlo. So all these first word, they say, this A means Andhra Pradesh, this was formed in 1968. Ma means Maharashtra, Gu means Gujarat, like this. So there are certain there are certain problems with the state. First of all, see, if this is a state and this is also the region. Now the husband is there, wife is there, means they have family, all they have relatives here and there, and they speak the common language. So now this state says this is my region, this state says this is my region. So there is always a conflict. So there are two major conflicts here. First is the boundary conflict, Seema Vivad. That is, I'll just tell you that, and there are certain places which are very important, and the place, because of the boundary they have fallen. For example, Maharashtra and Karnataka, they are always fighting over Belgaum, this one. Manipur and Nagaland also has some dispute. And one more important thing is the carving out of Haryana from the Punjab state. So it was Punjab earlier, then Haryana was formed. Now there was a single capital, that is Chandigarh, and this was made because Haryana was newly formed. So this Chandigarh was the capital of Haryana also and Punjab also. And it was being decided by Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi and else, etc., that this Chandigarh will be handed over to Punjab when the Haryana will be, able to have their own separate capital. But this has never been done. And the most important, I can tell you, the problem with the state is, see, if this is one state, this is another state, this is third state. Now, if a river pass all these, if one state is overusing the water, that is, it has made many dams, and this is also overusing, what will happen to this, the people in this state? So there is water dispute. For example, we have famous Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, they have Kaveri water dispute. That is why Tamil Nadu people, Karnataka people, they don't like each other, just because there is a water dispute. Otherwise, they are, almost equal people. They all eat normally the vada sambar and dosa. The problem is the water. So these are all the description of different rivers on which various states have problems or they are fighting. And in another dispute, if you see this Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, they are battling over the Narmada river. This is one of the examples, and this is a very famous example, because of the, when the battle goes bloody, or people start fighting and hating, that is a real issue of concern. And there are special provision being given. I tell you, there are certain states which were not part of our country. For example, Nagaland, Mizoram, they were not part, they were just tribes, special tribes. Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Assam, Nagaland. And also Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir were also not a part of India. So Jammu Kashmir was ruled by one Hindu emperor. But mostly the Muslim majority is there. But there is no problem, they were living in harmony. But when the India was formed, Pakistan and India, now they both wanted India and Pakistan, because Pakistan and India, they came from the same country. Now Pakistan wanted this place because they are saying all the Muslims are here. And India also wanted because this is a very strategic position. So now these people, they decided, okay, I will not go, we will not go with this one, we will not go with this one. So they decided, okay. But Pakistan did what? They attacked. They sent the army. So Jammu and Kashmir emperor at that time, they asked Nehru to help, Jawaharlal Nehru. And the Jawaharlal Nehru helped by sending the troops. Now troops are here till that time, and they were to be removed, but after that they were never removed, and they are now Jammu and Kashmir is a part of India. But Jammu Kashmir, when they wanted to enter, they said that we are an autonomous body, region, we want special provision just to keep in the sanctity of this place intact. And this was under 370, Article 370, certain special provision were given to this Nagaland, Mizoram and Arunachal Pradesh and Jammu Kashmir. So this is Article 371 for the northeastern state, Article 370 for the Jammu Kashmir. And there are other places also. This is not just these places. There are Andhra Pradesh, Goa, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Sikkim. They are also given special provisions, some hilly place also. In Himachal Pradesh and in Uttarakhand, no one can come, like Delhi people or Chandigarh people, they cannot come and take land. They cannot take it. So I will not talk about Jammu Kashmir. Why? Because Article 370, everything is discussed about Article 370, what are the provisions, etc. But the thing is, Article 370 has been abrogated. This has been taken off by the central government. Now this Jammu Kashmir is been divided into two different union territories. One is Jammu and Kashmir, the other is Ladakh. So now we have different union territories. Previously it was one state. So previously we were having 29 states and 7 union territories. Now this has become 28 because 2 union territories has been carved out of form. Now this has become 9. We have 9 union territories now. So previously, as I said, the Muslim majority was there, and because of certain historic things which happened, there was Article 370 being just imposed or written in the constitution, because this part was very important for India and Pakistan. And India has, the emperor has shaken hand with India, but they have asked for special provisions, and that was given. That is logical also. Now there are certain things which were happening before 370. Just let me tell you that if certain law is made, this law has to be passed by the Jammu Kashmir Legislative Assembly. If they agree, then this law for whole India is only applied to Jammu and Kashmir when there is acceptance by the Jammu Kashmir Legislative Assembly. Along with that, if some disturbance, say emergency situation is there, financial emergency, this cannot be imposed in Jammu Kashmir. Apatkal cannot be lagu nahi kar sakte, it cannot be applied. But due the course of time, this 370 was already, most of the constitutional amendments were done, and now this is almost a part of India. We know that Kashmir hamara abhinna ang hai. And there are controversies, like as I say, there was a special AFSPA rule in Jammu Kashmir and various parts of northeast, that an army man can kill anyone, army man can get inside anyone, and all this can be done. And there were various Manavadhikar Ayogs, they were saying that this is not good. So this is the situation. Now this has been abrogated. So federalism celebrates both unity as well as diversity, and this is especially between central government and the union government. National unity cannot be built by streamlining differences. So we need to have as least differences as we can think of. A responsive polity or politics sensitive to diversities. That is, India is full of diversity. So politics should be, a government should be there. So Hindu, Muslim, everyone to be seen. Christians, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, everyone has to be seen equally. And the demands for autonomy can alone be the basis of a cooperative federation. That if you don't give power or respect to a certain community or certain state which has certain tribes, then they will surely be asking for the autonomous region, and that will not be good for the future of India. So this is all about this chapter. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself.